Hey guys, it's Clarice. How's it going? So yeah, you might have heard that there is a certain Academy Awards ceremony happening this weekend, which I am very excited about, obviously. Just can't wait to stay up until 6 a.m. Go on! That darn movie show. In the sort of run-up, I've been trying to catch up and watch all the Best Picture nominees, so I finally got a chance to see Selma this week, which I'm so glad I got to do that, and yeah, so I've now seen all the Best Picture nominees except for American Sniper, which I'm sure it's more nuanced than the sort of reactions it's been getting from people, but I don't know, I feel very wary about it, so I'm just gonna keep my distance for now. But yeah, that's an annoying thing about watching a movie like Selma now, like right in this crucial moment of awards season. And I think especially it's annoying in the UK because we get a lot of these sort of releases now, sort of after the Oscar nominees have been announced. So I don't know, I found it impossible to engage with this movie without sort of thinking about it in the context of like, does this deserve to win Best Picture? Like, was it snubbed for all these other awards? And yeah, I think that's obviously quite a sort of damaging way to think about it, and that's one of the sort of big negative aspects of awards season is that it just like manipulates your brain into automatically wanting to compare all these different movies and sort of pitch them against each other instead of just sort of appreciating them as individual pieces of art. But yeah, I like can't help it. I can't think about Selma without sort of thinking about all these other Best Picture nominees as well, and especially The Imitation Game. I think that's the one movie that putting those two together really sort of represents to me the problems that I have with the Academy Awards and who they decide to reward. And yeah, I mean, obviously there is the sort of major issue that has been at the forefront of a lot of people's minds this year, but obviously has been a problem since the beginning of the Academy Awards, and that is the general dominance of male whiteness. And it continues to be year after year so sort of deeply depressing, but yeah, I don't know if I have anything particularly enlightening to add to that after watching Selma. I think it's just sort of more of the same anger. But I think what I also realised watching Selma and then sort of comparing it to The Imitation Game is the sort of types of movies that the Academy always chooses to reward. And you know, I wish that we could just be like, yeah, the Oscars, they don't matter, they're just silly, everyone just gets dressed up and goes around and pats each other on the back, la la la. And yeah, to a certain extent, I don't think they have that much impact on the kinds of movies that we're going to remember down the line. But I do think it has a lot of impact for the here and now, like in terms of next year, which movies are going to be produced, who's going to get work, you know, what types of movies we're going to see, and that doesn't mean that I think that The Imitation Game is a bad movie. Like, I don't think that at all. I think it's a good movie, I think it's a well-made movie, but it just doesn't strike me as like particularly outstanding or like risky or ambitious. And I think, you know, having those kinds of movies nominated year in, year out just gives out this sort of, it creates this sort of vicious cycle that just next year they're just going to produce some more movies that aren't risky or ambitious or particularly outstanding. It's just sort of rewarding safeness, which is just not what I sort of believe the Academy Awards should be about. And I do think that Selma better represents those qualities that I think should be rewarded. And yeah, Selma's not my favourite of the Best Picture nominees. I'm still very much hashtag Team Grand Budapest Hotel, whoop whoop. But yeah, I do find it really frustrating that it hasn't been nominated for more, and that it hasn't at least gotten a Best Director nomination for Ava DuVernay, who did such an incredible job here. And you know, instead to see movies like The Imitation Game or like Theory of Everything just get sort of nominations left, right and centre. And yeah, sorry, I know I just like can't leave The Imitation Game alone, I'm sorry about that, but like, I don't know, that movie, it definitely honoured Alan Turing, but I think in other ways it sort of reduced him to this very comfortable stereotype of the awkward science genius, and then, you know, this woman comes along and teaches him how to be nice to his colleagues, and then everyone's best friends forever, yay! And yeah, and I just don't think that movie had the guts to make any part of his personality truly unlikable or imperfect. But you know, I think Selma did that. I think it found that perfect balance in sort of Ava DuVernay's direction and in David Oyelowo's performance. You know, you could feel all those things that we sort of, all that majesty and all that fierce intelligence and all that bravery that we see and hear in Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches, but at the same time he has doubts, he has anxieties, and people question his leadership, and we as as an audience sort of start to question his decisions at points. And I think, you know, that doesn't make him any less heroic. I think that makes him more heroic, if anything, because you truly start to see what he was up against and the sort of obstacles that he had to overcome, and it just makes him feel, you know, like a real human being. But also Selma had the guts to sort of expand its focus beyond just the contributions of Martin Luther King Jr. And, you know, I think with The Imitation Game, it basically gave all the credit to Alan Turing, to the point that, like, Keira Knightley's character just felt completely defunct. But here, like, DuVernay's direction, she allows all these supporting characters their own personal voices, their own contributions, and their own struggles, and their own triumphs. You know, and Selma isn't just interested in putting Martin Luther King Jr. on a pedestal, it's interested in showing how power can come from unity, and that he was trying to seek this unity, but that it wouldn't have been possible without every single person who came out in support of him and who came out to march with him. And I think that's just such a powerful message, and it's such an inspirational message, and it makes him a true hero, and it makes him a true leader, because he found the heroism in other people. And I think, you know, that ambition does also bring up like a few problems. I think just because you're trying to pack so much information into one movie, it can kind of drag a little bit in some moments when you're just trying to, I don't know, take everything in. But you know what, I would much rather have that. I would much rather see that ambition, even with its flaws, than have something like The Imitation Game, which hangs together nicely, but it just goes from, you know, A to B to C with just zero spark and zero imagination. But Selma isn't just a well-made movie, it's a really timely one as well, and I think that's what really makes a great historical drama, is something that manages to say possibly more about the present than it does about the past. And it's a very depressing fact that Selma can do that, and this is a really tough movie to watch. It's a very depressing movie to watch, because just to see, you know, this movie and the events which happen in it, to see, you know, police officers attacking unarmed, peaceful black protesters, and when Martin Luther King Jr. is talking about the sort of string of murders in the South that are going unprosecuted because they're being protected by all white officials and freed by all white juries. I mean, it's hard to watch, and it's hard not to think about Ferguson, and it's maddening because you just think about how little has changed. And what's so smart about Selma is to set it after the Civil Rights Act had been passed, after segregation had supposedly ended, because I think, you know, we do think that we live in this more enlightened society because we have these laws like the Civil Rights Act in place, but, you know, the prejudice is so systematic, so ingrained that, you know, just passing a law doesn't solve all our problems, and we still have this fight on our hands today. And I think it was also a really smart move to use the FBI reports of this FBI agent who was basically spying on Martin Luther King Jr. and gathering information, and sort of using those subtitles to give context after each scene, because I think it really sort of highlights this disparity between the narratives being built up by the sort of authorities and the media, and then what is sort of actually happening. Because you'll have basically the scene where Martin Luther King Jr. gives this incredible speech, this powerful speech advocating for peace and for justice, and then the FBI report says he was inciting people in the room. And I think that's something that's incredibly relevant to today, that we need to question how the narrative of Black experience is being constructed by authorities and by the media. So overall, yeah, I definitely think that Selma deserves more recognition at the Academy Awards. Definitely a nomination for Ava DuVernay, and also for David Oyelowo, whose performance was just incredible. And yeah, this is a fantastic movie. It is an important movie. I would 100% recommend it. And yeah, if you have had a chance to see Selma, I would love to know what you thought. You can let me know by commenting down below, or you can tweet at me here. And also, yeah, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, you can like and subscribe. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back soon with some more video movie goodness. So yeah, see you guys soon. Bye!